Kathy from the National Trust. I'm here to talk to you guys a little bit about mangroves. Mangroves are super important trees that live right next to the ocean. They are salt-tolerant species, and we have 3 different kinds here in Cayman: red, black, and white, all named for the color of their bark. Now, the one that you might be most familiar with if you like to go boating is the red mangrove. Here's a beautiful one right behind me. They have these big, beautiful roots. They're able to go out into the water a little bit because they're supported on these prop roots, which also help them to get oxygen into the roots. And this is super important habitat for lots and lots of different kinds of species that live in there: fish, birds, all kinds of things. These things are very unusual trees, obviously because they're so salt tolerant. They have these very waxy, thick leaves. These help to protect them from water loss. This tree has gone to a lot of trouble to get the water into the plant, so it doesn't want to let it go super easily to evaporation. So that waxy coating helps to protect it from water loss. And it also has some other pretty cool things about it. If we look up a little bit higher, we will be able to see, hang on, check out this amazing propagule. This is how the red mangrove propagates itself. So it can't rely on a fruit or a seed that's transported by the wind or by animals. It has to rely on the ocean. So this propagule is a baby red mangrove tree. It's basically a seedling. When it falls off the tree, it will fall down into the water and the mud, and it can actually last floating around in the sea for up to a year. That's an amazingly long time in the ocean. So wherever it lands, it might be in Cayman, it might be in Mexico, it might be in Florida, it can spring up along the coastline wherever it landed and make a brand new little red mangrove tree. So it's a great way of propagating itself when you live so close to the ocean. And we have other species of mangroves as well. They're right here next to me. So let me go show you some of these. This one right next to the red is actually a white mangrove. This one is a little bit, its leaves are a little bit eaten up, but you can still see it has more of an oval shaped leaf. This is a white mangrove. The bark is kind of whitish, has a kind of a whitish cast to it. That's why it's called that. And this one typically lives the furthest from the ocean. This is the one that's by most of our roads because our roads are built through areas that used to be mangroves. And this tree is the more upland species. So you'll see a lot of white mangroves next to the roads. Those beautiful ones that you see are white mangroves. And then if we look over here, this beautiful tree that we're coming up to is actually a black mangrove. Black mangroves are completely different. Again, check out the beautiful flowers and the leaves. These leaves are actually often salty because this is how the tree gets rid of its excess salt. Now, I go in classrooms all the time, talk to kids about mangroves, and the black mangroves, their leaves being salty, kids love to be able to taste that salt that's on the leaf. It's actually pretty tasty. So if you know where a black mangrove tree is, give it a shot because it's pretty cool. But the reason why this mangrove is so salty is because this is the one that lives in the saltiest environment of all 3. You would think it'd be the red in the ocean, but actually the black mangrove can tolerate saltiness even more than the red because it's just back from the red mangrove typically, right in that tidal area where the tide goes up and down. And when the water there evaporates, it leaves the salt behind, so it gets really, really, really salty. It's a hypersaline environment actually, which is really difficult for most things to live in, especially a plant. So this tree is very specialized in why it has such salty leaves to get rid of that excess salt. Black mangroves are beautiful trees, by the way. The trunk is kind of blackish, that's why it's called that. They can be some of the biggest individuals that we see here in Grand Cayman. There's some beautiful ones I've seen, just amazing trees. But one of the first things you'll notice about these guys is the pneumatophores underneath them. Those are the snorkel roots. Check it out. Now this is how the tree gets its oxygen to the roots. It's in this saturated soil underneath the tree, and the roots have to be able to get oxygen somehow. So these are like little straws, like snorkels actually, to get that oxygen down to its roots. that's how this tree survives in this very, very difficult environment. So our mangroves are super special. And as I said, we have 3 kinds, all of which are important. These trees can live in places where no other plants can survive, this really super salty environment. And because these trees are so special, it makes Cayman what Cayman is, with all of its great habitat for different species and everything. It's an environment that we really, really need to work hard to protect. They do a lot of ecosystem services for people. That means things that we really value and that we rely on. This type of forest provides for us. It's not until these kind of things are gone that we realize how important they were for us. So let's not find out the hard way how important they are. Let's preserve them now.